With Season 2 complete, it would be about a year before Season 3 would come to Netflix. By this time, I learned not only did Digimon actually last for a while, but a new season was in the works called Digimon Fusion. All the while, Season 3 was being built up by many, claiming it as not only the best, but the darkest. In the meantime, I figured I would rewatch Seasons 1 and 2 until Season 3 would come out. I was in the early stages of rewatching Season 2 again when Season 3 finally dropped. From the first episode alone, I could tell I was in for quite a ride. Though Season 3 is not my personal favorite, I will agree it's one of the best. If you have only 1 month to live and could only choose one season to watch, this would be my recommendation. As such, this is the worst season to introduce newcomers to Digimon. It's pretty hard to top. This masterpiece starts off easy enough. We start in the digital world where an oppressive Digimon is chasing a small, innocent Digimon. Through the fight, this Digimon finds a way to escape into the real world. We zoom into Takato playing the Digimon card game with one of his friends, Kazu. After beating him, Takato finds a mysterious blue card. Unable to see what this card does, he runs it through an analyzer. I never played anything past the first version of the card game, so I really don't know what this device is supposed to be. This causes the device to become corrupt. Takato figures it's best to leave it and come back, as he's running late for school. At school, he draws plans for what his personal Digimon would look like. A large raptor-like Digimon that would be more powerful than Agumon. As a side note, you may notice that the voice of the teacher is Kari from Season 1 and 2. Though Kari did say she wanted to be a teacher at the end of Season 2, there is no connection between the two events. After some time, Takato gives a name to his creature, Guilmon. After school, he returns to his cards to find his collection to be pulsating with electricity. In getting the lid off, Takato finds his analyzer morphed into a Digivice. What's important to note is that in this universe, the events of Season 1 and 2 are episodes of a popular TV show, rather than history. As such, Takato knows this thing is a Digivice, but refuses to believe that it's real. That night, he takes it home with him and tries to scan his plans for Guilmon through it. The notebook is too thick and gets jammed inside. That night, Takato has a strange dream. He sees a girl with her Digimon in an intense fight. The girl cannot hear Takato, nor can he change the events in the dream. I'm calling this a Christmas Carol logic. During the night, the plans run through the Digivice. The next day, Takato looks at the Digivice and finds there is an egg inside it. While trying to convince his friends Kazu and Kenta that Digimon are real, the egg hatches. After some handling, the Digivice then acts as a compass to point out where the egg is. Through several obstacles, he finds it. Guilmon seems ready to eat him when the episode ends. I love the idea that the narrator is Davis this time around. It gives a feeling of an elder recounting these events and comparing it to their own. The next episode begins with Guilmon and Takato meeting face to face. Fearing for his life, Takato can't move. Just then, Guilmon comes forward and starts sniffing him. He recognizes the scent as the one of his master, and starts acting rather friendly, almost like a small dog. Takato is able to sneak him home, where he goes over the basics. With Guilmon being just hatched, he still has a lot to learn not only of the human world, but of himself. Takato starts off easy enough with their names. However, Guilmon believes Takato is a Digimon, and refers to him as Takatomon. With this lesson out of the way, the next challenge becomes what to do with Guilmon. Takato comes up with the idea of hiding him in a box until he is done with school. This works for about 5 minutes due to Guilmon's curiosity. He finds his way to the school and is then quickly driven away. Rumors start circulating about a monster that invaded the school. Takato wonders if it's Guilmon, and after some investigation, he finds out it actually was. While moping about the possible loss of his best friend, a kid by the name of Henry overhears him. While talking of Digimon, his pet shows up. This is a quick sidetrack. In this season, the Digidestined are known as Digimon Tamers. To me, this gives more of a relationship of master and slave, rather than friends on equal footing, like in the last 2 seasons. That's not to say the bond between the Digimon and the Tamers any less, no. It just seems like the title is more misleading. Coming back to the story, Terriermon, with his sense of sarcasm, convinces Takato he is a bad tamer for not being able to keep track of only one Digimon. In tears, Takato looks all over for Guilmon when he comes up with a place he could be. With this most joyous reunion, Takato looks for another place to hide Guilmon. This is when he is attacked from the girl from his dream the night before. Henry quickly comes in to stop the fight, and this girl realizes that this is just not worth her time, and goes on to find more interesting prey. That evening, Takato finds a nice place for Guilmon to stay, sort of a concrete cage. Other than convenient storytelling, I have no idea what this thing is supposed to be used for, unless this is something from an abandoned zoo? I don't know. During this episode, we get a small glimpse of Hypnos, an organization funded by the Japanese government in order to keep Digimon a secret. Recent activity shows that Digimon have been bioemerging, which simply means coming to the real world. The girl from earlier, Rika, is using these Digimon to get her Digimon, Renamon, to level up, so to speak. I have to really be sure I say Renamon instead of Renamon, since they are not only different Digimon, but from different seasons entirely. Even with these bioemergences, Rika is unable to get Renamon to digivolve. Next day, Guilmon runs off, and due to his savage nature, he is drawn to fight Renamon once again. Like the fight from earlier, Henry comes in to try to stop it, but with a bit of a twist. Terriermon accidentally gets in the middle of the fight and is nearly destroyed in the crossfire. When Henry goes to check on Terriermon, though, he digivolves into Gargomon. While the power he wields is immense, he cannot control it at all. The fight then shifts to taking down Gargomon before he can do any more damage. Here, Rika not only experiences fear for the first time, but also begins to question, would Renamon be out of control like this? On the next day, another bioemergence happens inside of an old construction building. This marks Guilmon's first real fight, as well as his first time using Modify cards. Essentially, they are effects that make Digimon temporarily stronger. Examples would include added strength, speed, ability to fly, or wield powerful weapons. This is all going on while Henry refuses to have Terriermon fight. We go to a flashback explaining the reason. A while back, Henry was given a Digimon video game. Wanting a challenge, he chose Terriermon. A little ways into the game, he loses the ability to control the character during a fight with the same Digimon that is in this building. Even though Henry has no control over the character, he is still able to use Modify cards. With this power, he digivolves Terriermon into Gargomon, who, like the real-world counterpart, goes mad with power and brutally goes after Gorillamon. He leaves the game long enough to reflect on what just happened, only to come back finding Terriermon practically dead. This is when another one of those mysterious blue cards appear. This helps bring Terriermon into the real world, and then transforming his card analyzer into a Digivice. Ever since that day, he's been very protective of Terriermon. Henry comes back to the fight at hand and realizes if he wants to keep Terriermon safe, he's going to have to defeat Gorillamon. With a little help from Guilmon, this task is done. 2 episodes later, and we go into Rika's backstory. Her mother is a professional model, which, while the job pays well, Rika is often left with her grandmother. I never thought about it before, but I kinda wonder what happened to the father. Anyways, Rika picks up the Digimon card game, and was really good at it, even earning the title the Digimon Queen. After winning a championship, she is invaded by several Digimon that would love her to be their tamer. Rika cries out. She only wants the strongest. All the other Digimon depart, with Renamon being the only one remaining. From there, she seeks to conquer real Digimon, as she did in the card game. The relationship between the two can be best described as a working relationship. They know they want to do great work together, but each is using the other to get what they want. On a personal level, Renamon acts as a protector, while Rika acts as a slave driver. In this early time, Rika would occasionally show some compassion for Renamon, granting her the power to digivolve. However, it would take time before they would get to form a deeper bond. After Renamon digivolves to Kyubimon, which if you look closely has 9 tails, we dive more into the story of Hypnos and its head, Yamaki. He receives a call from several higher-ups, wondering about the strange activity going on lately. In addition to the bioemerges, a new anomaly has appeared, one which appears to be taking Guilmon away from the real world. With Yamaki's higher-ups wanting results, he uploads a program to Hypnos called Yugoth. Here's another talking point. I've heard a lot of people say that this season was either inspired by H.P. Lovecraft horror, or that there are a lot of references to H.P. Lovecraft. If this is the latter, this is one of them. If it's the former, I can see that too in The D Reaper, but we'll get to that in good time. I don't know much about H.P. Lovecraft, but my understanding is that most of his horror comes from a being that's either omnipresent or whose physical form is so terrifying that no one can accurately describe it. Anyways, this Yugoth program was built to destroy this anomaly, which still has Guilmon inside. The Tamers, can't use the term Digidestined in this season, are successful in getting him out just in time. However, the threat of this thing coming back, as well as permanent deletion, looms over the entire group. Following this adventure, we start with Takato coming up with Guilmon's champion form. I love this idea since Guilmon was born of Takato's imagination. There is no set form for him. It's a good thing Takato came up with his champion form when he did. A champion known as Davidramon appears. If not for Growlmon, Guilmon's champion form, Davidramon would not have been so easily defeated. There's a small scene here which I simply love. After Davidramon is defeated, the form of Growlmon terrifies Takato, and Growlmon is still currently in fighting mode. Takato is convinced that Growlmon is going to eat him. Just then, tears hit the ground. Growlmon feels sorry that he terrified Takato so much, and wishes he could go back to being Guilmon again. It may be a subtle scene, but this is a pretty big deal. In Seasons 1 and 2, when the Digimon would digivolve, they were really another character, with different personalities. Here, we see that even though the physical form is different, the emotional form is still the same. This kind of theme has been explored time and time again in children's media, but this doesn't come across as cheesy or preachy in any way. The next episode marks one of the first unexpected turns of the season. Another Digimon, Ice Devimon, comes to the real world in order to have Rika be his tamer. From his logic, he would be a perfect match for her, wanting only perfection and not caring about any emotions that would go with it. Rika seems to agree with him until she realizes how brutal this way really is. In a strange way, Ice Devimon proves that Rika is not like this at all. What is the major twist here is that Rika and Renamon have a fight towards the beginning of the episode, wherein Rika says she doesn't need Renamon or anybody. By the end of it, Renamon comes back to save Rika from Ice Devimon, but instead of getting back together again, she simply says she hates all Digimon, and then walks away. That night, she dumps her Digimon cards and Digivice into the trash, hoping to never relive this problem ever again. The next day, there is another bioemergence. The main thing that makes this one special is that it was terminated by the Yugoth program, but somehow came back. Fearing for the worst, Yamaki runs to the location to see if he can put a stop to any pointless destruction. Instead, he finds Takato and Henry defeat this rogue Digimon and decides to investigate. After finding both of them together, he gives them a stern warning about this Digimon hobby being dangerous and should just leave it alone. Then, vanishes. It would be several more episodes until Rika and Renamon would get back together again. Both would try to go their separate ways, but one would be curious about the other. During one of these times, Renamon is nearly killed by a rogue Digimon. Rika comes in for the rescue. With this, they finally have an understanding again. The next episode, we get a taste as to how dark this season gets. It starts innocent enough, Guilmon just defeating Dark Lizardmon when Hypnos arrives. Smoke screens are dropped in when Dark Lizardmon gets back up again. The Digimon is then hit with an EMP of some sort. As the smoke clears, the figure of Yamaki stands front and center, once again, with a warning of danger. He threatens to take Guilmon away, but after Takato stands his ground, he disappears once again. Before this, Dark Lizardmon lets out one last whimper, showing there is still life there. Dark Lizardmon is taken back to the lab for tests. This test involves breaking down the Digimon into data form, and then deleting what isn't necessary. In short, the being is ripped apart and then killed in the process. Shortly after, Yamaki gets another stern reprimanding from his supervisors. One of them is a little clueless on the subject, and we build the mythos of the digital world for this season. I have a feeling I probably mentioned this before in my other season reviews, but I'll mention it again just to be safe. Just about every season has their own mythos in terms of how the digital world was created. In seasons 1 and 2, the digital world was born out of the information superhighway, and the data on that highway became a life form. For this season, Digimon was a collaborative AI project by young college students. The AI were deemed too smart, and the project was shut down. A dumbed-down version of it was released as a popular video game franchise, which is how Henry met Terriermon. However, even with the project shut down, the being still survived, and even took physical forms. Yamaki's solution? A program called Juggernaut. With the data from Dark Lizardmon, he is able to devise a way to have Digimon dematerialize, and on top of that, be called into the void it creates. To ensure no harm to the real world, a test is proposed and preparations are made. We then go to Henry's father, who's been followed by a mysterious man in a dark suit. He says he is looking for one of his old collaborators on the project. He's able to tell this man nothing. He then bursts out yelling,
"Who are you, huh?"
only to find this man is gone and his son is startled by the outburst. That night, the test is run on Juggernaut. It calls to all the Digimon, including those of the Tamers. They are able to resist, but are still tugged by it. As for all the others, they are sucked in and destroyed. Inside Hypnos, all the employees hear nothing but the agonizing screams of all those sucked in. It's times like this I'm happy Saban dubbed this. I don't know how many other dubbing companies would have been able to get away with this kind of stuff. Hopefully that's not too dramatizing. If it was, I recommend you quit with this season now. This is only the tip of the dark iceberg.